The rain had been falling since morning. Thick gray clouds covered the sky, and the colony's streets looked almost empty. Most people had run to the shelters, hiding from the cold drops and the wind that carried them. The central courtyard, usually crowded with traders, children, and travelers, now looked quiet. Only the sound of rain filled the wide open space. Aaron walked slowly across the stone path of the courtyard, his boots splashing in shallow puddles. Unlike most of the others, he was not in a hurry to escape the storm. He loved the way rain smelled, the way it touched his skin, the way it made the world look alive. Back on Earth, he had often stood under heavy storms, letting the drops wash over him like music. Now, even on this faraway colony, surrounded by strangers and new cultures, rain still made him feel at home. He tilted his face up to the sky, closing his eyes for a moment. The cold drops touched his cheeks, ran down his hair, and slid across his hands. For Aaron, there was no better feeling. But when he opened his eyes again, he was no longer alone. Across the courtyard, standing near the stone fountain, was someone who did not seem to belong to the scene. She was tall, graceful, and her skin had a soft silver glow, even in the dim light of the cloudy sky. Her long cloak was wet and heavy, yet she did not move, did not hide, did not run. She simply stood there, her eyes following the rain as if she were studying it carefully. Aaron's heart skipped for a moment. He recognized her kind. She was an off-worlder, one of the scholars from the distant system of Elira. Most Aelirians were known for their calm, logical minds and for avoiding anything they considered chaotic. He had seen a few of them in the colony before, but never one standing like this in the middle of a storm. The woman did not notice him at first. She raised one silver hand, letting the drops fall on her open palm. Her expression was strange, half wonder, half confusion. She looked almost like a child seeing something for the first time. Aaron took a few steps closer, curious. Something about her silence and her stillness made him want to know what she was thinking. Unlike most Aelirians, who walked with dignity and avoided human stares, this one seemed lost in the simple beauty of the moment. When he was near enough, the woman finally turned her gaze toward him. Her eyes were bright, like polished glass, but soft. For a second, neither spoke. The rain fell between them, creating a rhythm, a curtain of sound. Then she tilted her head slightly and asked, her voice clear yet careful, "Why do you not run for shelter?" Aaron smiled lightly, brushing wet hair from his forehead. "Because I enjoy it," he answered simply. "The rain makes me feel alive." Her brow lifted, as if the words were both surprising and confusing. Alive. The storm brings danger. Water hides paths, makes the ground weak. My people do not step outside when the sky cries. Yet you stand here and smile. Aaron laughed softly, not mocking, just warm. That's the difference, maybe. For humans, the rain is not always a threat. It can be joy. It reminds us of home, of freedom. The sound, the smell, it makes everything fresh again. The woman looked at him closely, as though she was trying to measure the truth in his words. She lowered her hand, watching drops fall from her fingertips. "Strange," she whispered. "I feel something, when I stand here. Not fear. Something else. But I do not understand it." "You don't have to understand it right away," Aaron said gently. "Sometimes, the best things are the ones we just feel." For the first time, her lips curved into a faint smile. It was not large, but it softened her face, making her look less like a distant scholar and more like someone touched by the same world as him. She studied him a little longer, and then spoke again. "My name is Nira," she said. "Aaron," he replied, offering a small nod. The rain continued to fall around them, splashing into the fountain, dripping from the edges of the stone walls, running down their clothes. But in that courtyard, in that quiet storm, something small but powerful had begun. Two souls from different worlds had noticed each other. And though neither fully understood why, both felt the same pull, the kind that only starts when hearts find a reason to beat a little faster. For Aaron, the courtyard was no longer just a place to enjoy the rain. And for Nira, the storm no longer felt only like danger. In the rhythm of falling drops, something new was born. The next afternoon, the rain returned. The sky was heavy again, and the courtyard glistened with wet stones. The fountain overflowed with the endless drops, and the sound of water filled every corner of the plaza. Most of the colony stayed inside, but one figure stepped back into the courtyard with quiet footsteps. It was Nira. She walked slowly, her silver cloak hanging damp on her shoulders. Something had changed in her since yesterday. She had spent the night thinking of the human's words, the strange warmth she had felt when standing in the storm beside him. Her people taught her to avoid storms, to fear their power, to see them as dangerous signs of imbalance. Yet the human Aaron stood smiling in the rain as though it was a gift. She wanted to understand why. And so, she had returned. At the same time, Aaron appeared from the far side of the plaza, carrying nothing but his steady steps and his curious eyes. When he saw her standing again by the fountain, his lips curved into a smile. He had not expected her to come back, but part of him had hoped. "You're here again," he said, his voice carrying over the soft roar of the rain. Nira turned her head toward him. Drops ran down her silver cheeks, but she did not brush them away. "I came to ask," she replied. "Yesterday, you said the rain makes you feel alive. I want to know why." Aaron paused a moment, considering. Then he walked closer until they both stood near the fountain. "It's not easy to explain," he began. "When rain falls, it touches everything the same way. Rich, poor, strong, weak, no one is different. It washes streets, feeds plants, cools the air. For us, it's like the world reminding us we are part of something bigger." Nira tilted her head, listening carefully. Her people loved logic, clear patterns, reasons. But this sounded less like reason and more like feeling. "You say it is equal," she murmured. "Yet it also destroys. Storms flood, lightning breaks. Where is the beauty in that?" Aaron smiled gently. "That's the thing. Rain is not perfect. It can harm, but it also heals. Humans accept both sides. Sometimes we fear it, sometimes we dance in it. But in the end, we keep walking through it, because life itself is not perfect either." For a moment, Nira said nothing. She let the rain fall against her palms again, just as she had the day before. It was cold, sharp, but not unbearable. In fact, with Aaron's words in her mind, it felt different, less like a warning, more like a voice calling her to listen. "You humans," she said slowly. "You turn even storms into lessons. My people would say you are foolish, guided by feelings instead of truth." "Maybe," Aaron admitted, his tone soft but firm. "But feelings are truth, too. They're the kind you carry inside, not the kind you write in books. Both matter." She studied him again, her bright eyes steady on his. There was no arrogance in his voice, no need to prove superiority. Only calm conviction, as if he spoke from something deep within. That calmness unsettled her, yet it also drew her closer. "Do you never fear the rain?" she asked quietly. Aaron chuckled lightly, shaking his head. "Of course I do, sometimes. A storm can be dangerous. But fear is only one way to see it. Sometimes, I choose another way. I let the rain wash away worry, even just for a little while. It feels like freedom." The word lingered in Nira's mind. Freedom. She thought of her people, always calculating, always cautious, always avoiding risk. Freedom was not often spoken of among them. Safety, yes. Order, yes. But freedom was a word too open, too uncertain. And yet here she was, standing under the rain with a human who spoke of it as if it were life itself. For the first time, Nira felt her lips form a real smile, not hesitant, but warm. "Perhaps," she said softly, "I wish to feel this freedom, too." Aaron's smile widened, but his voice remained gentle. "Then don't run from the rain. Just stand in it, breathe it, and let it remind you that you're alive." The courtyard felt brighter, even though the sky remained gray. The fountain splashed, the drops danced on stone, and two figures stood side by side in silence, no longer strangers but something more. In that moment, Nira did not feel like a scholar of distant stars. She felt like a woman standing in the storm, her heart beating in a rhythm she had never known. And Aaron, watching her eyes glow with curiosity, felt a warmth stronger than the cold rain. The storm carried on, but for both of them, the world had just become far more beautiful. The days passed, and the rains continued. The colony's sky often stayed heavy with clouds, and the courtyard always shined with wet stones. For most, the weather was a reason to stay inside. But for Aaron and Nira, the courtyard had become something else, a place where two different worlds slowly learned to understand each other. Every time the rain returned, they found themselves drawn back to the same fountain, the same stone paths, the same rhythm of water falling from the sky. Aaron began sharing more of his people's ways with Nira. He told her about the old songs humans used to sing under the rain, songs of love, courage, and hope. He spoke of children running through muddy streets back on Earth, their laughter mixing with thunder. He described lovers walking together under one umbrella, not caring if their clothes got wet. Nira listened with quiet attention. For her, these stories were strange, almost unbelievable. Her people never sang in storms, never celebrated thunder, never found joy in being wet. Yet the way Aaron's eyes lit up as he spoke, the way his voice softened when he remembered, made her feel as if she could almost see those moments. She found herself imagining the laughter of children, the touch of rain mixing with music, the closeness of two hearts under dark skies. In return, Nira shared her own culture. She explained how the Aeolians saw storms as warnings from nature, signs that balance was broken. She told him about the high halls of her world, where every drop of rain was studied carefully, where scholars recorded the smallest changes in weather as if they were secrets of the universe. "To us," she said, "rain is not joy. It is something to be controlled, to be measured." Aaron listened without judgment. He nodded with respect and asked questions, not to argue, but to understand. He never laughed at her beliefs, even when they were far from his own. That simple patience touched Nira deeply. She was used to people debating her, trying to prove her wrong, or simply ignoring her. But Aaron only listened, and in his listening, she felt something new, something like trust. One afternoon, As the rain softened into a gentle drizzle, Aaron picked up a flat stone from the courtyard ground. He skipped it across a puddle, watching the ripples spread. "When I was young," he said, "I used to do this with my friends. We would see who could make the stone jump the most times. It wasn't important, but it made us laugh." Nira tilted her head. "A game, in the middle of the storm? Why not?" Aaron smiled. "Life is short. Sometimes you don't need a reason to laugh. You just need to let yourself enjoy it." Nira bent down slowly, her fingers brushing against the wet stone path. She picked up her own stone, holding it awkwardly. "Like this. Try throwing it lightly, at an angle," Aaron said, guiding with a gesture. She threw. The stone landed with a single splash and sank. Nira frowned a little, but Aaron chuckled kindly. "It's all right. It takes practice. Want to try again?" To her own surprise, Nira nodded eagerly. She tried again, and this time, the stone bounced once before sinking. She turned toward Aaron with wide eyes, almost like a child discovering a secret. "That's it," he said warmly. "You did it." And for the first time, Nero laughed. It was a soft laugh, uncertain but real, carried by the rain like music. Aaron watched her, feeling his heart stir at the sound. In that laugh, he saw a side of her he had never expected, a side untouched by duty, by rules, by the weight of her people's expectations. After that day, something changed between them. Their meetings were no longer just about questions and answers. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they shared silence, simply watching the rain together. Nero began to look forward to those moments, to the way her heart felt lighter when she was near him. The courtyard no longer seemed like a place of danger to her. It felt like a place of discovery, a place where every drop of rain carried her closer to something she had never allowed herself to imagine. As the days turned into weeks, Nira realized that what she felt was not only curiosity anymore. It was something warmer, something deeper, something that made her smile even when she was alone. And Aaron, though he said little, knew the same truth. Every time she looked at him with those bright, questioning eyes, he felt the storm within him grow stronger, but the storm did not bring fear. It brought hope. The rain kept falling, but neither of them wished for it to stop. The rains did not stop that season. Almost every day, the courtyard gleamed with puddles, and the fountain spilled with endless water. For Aaron and Nira, the storm had become their companion, a silent witness to their meetings. Yet while their bond grew stronger, whispers began to follow them. Nira's people had sharp eyes. The Aelirians valued order, and they noticed when one of their own stepped away from the rules. Many saw Nira speaking often with a human in the courtyard, standing in the rain without fear. To them, it was troubling. Quiet words spread in the high halls, "She is forgetting who she is." One evening, Nira's elder mentor called her aside. The elder's face was stern, her voice calm but heavy. "Nira, I hear that you waste your time in storms with a human. This is not our way. The rain is chaos. Why do you place yourself in danger?" Nira lowered her eyes, hiding the flicker of warmth she felt when she thought of Aaron. "He is different," she said softly. "He shows me things I never understood. Perhaps the rain is not only danger." The elder shook her head. "That is human foolishness. They let emotion rule them. You are Aelirian. You must not lose yourself." Nira gave no answer. Her heart was restless, torn between loyalty to her people and the quiet joy she felt in the courtyard. Aaron too began to notice disapproval. When he walked through the colony, some humans whispered and laughed. "Look at him," one man said. "Talking to the silver scholar as if she'd ever care for him." Another scoffed, "Aliens don't mix with us. He's dreaming." Aaron ignored the voices, but they still stung. He knew many thought it strange, even foolish, for him to spend so much time with someone from another world. But every time he saw Nira's bright eyes, every time her lips curved into a rare smile, he knew it was worth it. The next day, the rain poured heavier than usual. The courtyard was almost empty, yet Nira was already there, waiting by the fountain. Her cloak was soaked, but she did not care. When Aaron approached, he saw something different in her face, a shadow of worry. "You're troubled," he said gently. Nira looked at him, her silver eyes clouded. "They do not understand," she whispered. "My people think I am lost. They say humans are reckless, careless. They warn me not to be close to you." Aaron stood quietly for a moment, the rain running down his face. He had expected such resistance, but hearing it from her lips still hurt. "And what do you think?" he asked softly. Nira hesitated. She wanted to answer, yet her words stuck in her throat. She looked down at her wet hands, trembling slightly. "I do not know," she admitted. "Part of me fears they are right. But another part," she lifted her gaze slowly to his. "Another part feels alive when I am here with you." Aaron's chest tightened, but he kept his voice calm. "Nira, I will never force you to choose. If you wish to stop meeting me, I will understand. But I want you to know this: what you feel here, in the rain, it is real. And real things are worth holding onto." For a long moment, they stood in silence. The storm raged around them, water splashing against the stones, thunder echoing above. Nira closed her eyes, letting the rain strike her face. The words of her people echoed in her mind, warning her, pulling her back. Yet Aaron's gentle voice, his steady presence, pulled her forward. Finally, she whispered, "When I stand with you, the storm feels less frightening. Perhaps that means something." Aaron reached out, not to take her hand, but to let his palm rest open between them. A quiet offer, nothing more. Nira looked at it, her heart racing. Slowly, almost hesitantly, she placed her hand in his. Their fingers did not tighten, but the simple touch carried more strength than words. In that moment, the courtyard felt like a place divided. Outside, the world whispered against them. But inside the rain's rhythm, there was only truth: two souls finding each other, even if everything else tried to pull them apart. The storm above them roared louder, as if testing their resolve. Yet neither stepped back. That night, the storm arrived with a force greater than any before. Dark clouds swallowed the sky, lightning split the horizon, and thunder rolled across the colony like a giant's roar. The courtyard, usually calm in its rain-soaked beauty, now looked wild and restless. Water rushed down the stone steps, the fountain overflowed, and the wind carried sheets of rain in every direction. Nira stood at the edge of her chamber window, watching. Her chest was tight, her hands trembling slightly. This was the kind of storm her people feared most, the kind she had been taught to avoid all her life. Every part of her training told her to stay inside, to hide, to wait until balance returned. Yet her heart pulled her elsewhere. Somewhere out there, she knew, Aaron would not be hiding. He would be in the courtyard, standing in the rain, as steady as always. And a part of her louder than fear wanted to be there with him. At last, unable to resist, she stepped out into the storm. The courtyard was alive with chaos. Water splashed at her feet, wind tugged at her cloak, and lightning lit the fountain in sudden bursts of white. And there, as she had guessed, was Aaron. He stood near the fountain, his figure soaked, his hair plastered to his face, but his eyes steady and calm. When he saw her, his face softened with surprise, then relief. "You came," he said over the roar of the storm. "I should not be here," Nira admitted, her voice shaking. "This storm is too strong. My people say it is dangerous." Aaron stepped closer, rain running down his cheeks like silver threads. "It is dangerous," he said honestly. "But that doesn't mean we must run. Sometimes, the only way to face fear is to walk into it." Nira's breath caught. She wanted to believe him, but the thunder above made her flinch. Her hands clenched at her sides. "I feel as if the storm will swallow me," she whispered. Aaron reached out, slowly, giving her the choice. His hand hovered near hers, steady in the shaking rain. "Then don't face it alone. Take my hand." For a moment, she hesitated. Her mind screamed warnings, memories of her people's voices filled her head. But her heart louder than all pushed her forward. She placed her hand in his. The warmth shocked her. In the middle of the cold storm, his touch was solid, grounding. She felt her breathing steady, her fear soften. "Listen to it," Aaron said gently. "Don't think of the storm as an enemy. Hear the rhythm. The rain is music, the thunder is its drum. You are not against it, you are part of it." Nira closed her eyes, clutching his hand. At first, all she felt was fear. The thunder cracked, the rain struck her skin like icy needles. But slowly, with Aaron's presence beside her, the fear began to shift. She noticed the pattern of the drops, the steady sound of water striking stone, the rise and fall like a song. Her heart calmed. Her shoulders loosened. She opened her eyes again, and for the first time, she did not see only chaos. She saw beauty. "It feels," she searched for words, her voice trembling not with fear but with wonder. "It feels alive." Aaron's lips curved into a quiet smile. "That's it? The storm isn't here to destroy you. It's here to remind you that you're alive, stronger than you think." Another flash of lightning lit the courtyard, and Nira did not flinch. Instead, she looked at the sky with wide eyes, her silver face glowing in the storm light. She felt her heart beating fast, not from terror, but from something deeper. When she turned back to Aaron, her voice was softer, but sure. "Perhaps my people were wrong. Perhaps fear was never the answer." Aaron brushed wet hair from his forehead, his gaze steady on her. "Fear has its place," he said. "But it should never keep you from living." For a long moment, they stood there, hand in hand, as the storm raged around them. Nira's cloak whipped in the wind, her silver eyes reflecting the lightning, while Aaron's calm presence anchored her like stone in the flood. The storm was still wild, still dangerous, but inside it, Nira found something new. Strength. Freedom. And most of all, the unshakable comfort of a human hand holding hers in the dark. The storm outside had not ended. But the storm within her heart was slowly becoming clear. The storm had passed, leaving the courtyard wet but calm. The clouds were thinning, and the last drops of rain slid down the stone walls, making the place glisten like a mirror. The air smelled fresh, clean, alive. For Aaron and Nira, it was a perfect moment of pause after chaos, a quiet space where everything else seemed far away. Nira stood near the fountain, her silver cloak still damp from the earlier storm. She looked at the water as it ran in slow streams, reflecting the gray sky above. Her heart still raced, not from fear this time, but from thoughts she could no longer keep to herself. Aaron approached, his wet boots splashing softly in the shallow puddles. His eyes held the same calm warmth that had guided her through the storm. He stopped a few steps away and smiled gently. "You're here," he said simply. "I had to come," Nira replied, her voice quiet but firm. I cannot stop thinking about this." She lifted her gaze to his, silver eyes meeting brown. "About us. About what I feel when I am with you." Aaron's smile widened slightly, but he said nothing, letting her continue. He had learned to listen without interrupting, letting her speak her truth on her own terms. "The past weeks. I have felt something I never expected," she whispered. "Something I cannot ignore anymore. I thought my heart should follow rules, follow caution, follow the path my people expect. But when I am with you, I feel alive in ways I cannot describe. I feel," she paused, taking a deep breath. "I feel that I want to be near you. Always." Aaron stepped closer, letting the cool water touch his boots. "Nira," he said softly, "I have felt the same. From the first time I saw you standing in the rain, something about you drew me in. I could not explain it then, but now I can. I care for you more than I can say." Her eyes widened slightly, a small smile forming on her lips. For a moment, the world felt suspended. The fountain's gentle flow, the fresh scent of rain, the soft puddles beneath their feet, they all faded into the background. All that mattered was the truth they had both been carrying quietly, afraid to speak. Nira took a small step forward, closing the gap between them. "I have feared that I was wrong," she admitted, her voice trembling. "That my feelings are foolish. But standing here with you, I know they are not. I want this. I want you." Aaron reached out and took her hand, holding it firmly but gently. His touch was warm, grounding her in the reality she had feared to accept. "Nira, your feelings are not foolish. They are real. And that is what matters most." For a moment, neither spoke. The courtyard was quiet now, except for the faint drip of water from the fountain and the last echoes of distant thunder. The rain had ended, but its memory lingered, like a soft song around them. Nero let herself breathe, feeling a weight lift from her chest. She squeezed his hand, a small but deliberate gesture. "I am ready," she said, her voice stronger now. "Ready to face everything, even if my people do not understand." Aaron nodded, a sense of quiet pride in his expression. "Then we face it together," he said. "No matter what the world says, no matter what storms come, we face them together." The words settled between them like a promise. And for the first time, Nero felt completely free. She was no longer just an Aeolian scholar following rules. She was herself, standing in the rain, standing with someone who understood her in a way no one else ever had. Aaron lifted his other hand, brushing wet strands of hair from her forehead. The gesture was gentle, protective, tender. Nero leaned slightly closer, her silver eyes reflecting the soft gray of the sky. In that simple touch, words became unnecessary. The confession had been spoken. The bond had been sealed. They stood like that for a long time, hand in hand, hearts beating in quiet harmony. The storm outside had left the courtyard calm, but the storm they had faced together, the storm of fear, doubt, and uncertainty, had brought them closer than either had imagined. Finally, Aaron whispered, Whatever comes next, we will face it as one. Nira nodded, her lips curving into a real, unguarded smile. Yes, she said softly. Together. And in that moment, the rain-drenched courtyard, once a place of danger and isolation, became their world of trust, courage, and new beginnings. The storm had passed, but the warmth of their hearts shone brighter than any sun could. The days after the storm were calm. The sky cleared, and the courtyard sparkled under gentle sunlight. The fountains shone with the last of the rainwater, and birds cautiously returned, singing above the stone paths. For most people, it was just another day, but for Aaron and Nira, the courtyard had transformed into something extraordinary, a place that held memories of storms, courage, and promises. Nira walked toward the fountain, her silver cloak now dry, but her heart still carrying the warmth of recent confessions. She smiled as she saw Aaron waiting, hands in pockets, watching her with a quiet patience that never failed to calm her. "You came," he said, as usual, his eyes lighting up. "I wouldn't miss this," Nira replied. Her voice carried a soft certainty, a new strength that had grown inside her since their first meeting in the rain. They spent hours in the courtyard, talking quietly, laughing at small things, and sometimes sitting in comfortable silence. The bond between them had grown deeper than curiosity or fascination, it had become trust, admiration, and love, the kind that could survive storms, doubts, and differences. Word of their connection slowly spread, and reactions were mixed. Some humans smiled at the unusual friendship-turned relationship, admiring the courage it took to reach across worlds. Some Aeolians watched silently, their faces unreadable, but even the sternest began to notice something remarkable. Nira's presence among the humans did not weaken her, it made her stronger, more confident, more radiant. One afternoon, as the sun warmed the courtyard, a young Aeolian scholar approached Nira. "I see you have chosen your path," the scholar said carefully, her eyes curious. "You walk in ways I cannot yet understand, but you carry your people's wisdom still." Nira nodded. "I have learned that strength is not only in rules or caution. It is in choice, in courage, in feeling. I am still Aeolian. I am still myself. But I am also learning to live fully." The scholar nodded slowly, a hint of respect in her gaze, and left. Nira turned to Aaron, her hand brushing against his. "Even they begin to understand," she said softly. Aaron smiled. "It takes time, but truth always shows itself." Over the following weeks, the courtyard became their meeting place, not only for secret conversations, but also for quiet joy. They walked the stone paths together, shared stories under the shade of trees, and sometimes simply watched the world move around them. Every glance, every gentle touch, every smile became part of their story. Nira discovered new things about herself. She laughed more freely, she trusted her feelings without hesitation, and she no longer feared what others thought. She could be brave and tender at the same time. Aaron saw it too, the spark in her eyes, the soft courage in her smile, and the way she carried herself, strong yet open. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting golden light across the wet stones of the fountain, Aaron spoke quietly. "Nira, this courtyard, the rain, the storms, they brought us together. I cannot imagine life without this, without you." Nira's eyes softened. "Neither can I, Aaron. And I do not want to." She reached out and placed her hand on his cheek, her touch light but steady. "Whatever comes, we will face it together." He leaned slightly closer, feeling the warmth of her hand. "Together," he repeated, smiling. The courtyard seemed to hold its breath, reflecting their joy and certainty. The water sparkled, the sunlight danced across the stones, and the memories of storms felt like blessings now. This place had witnessed fear, hesitation, courage, and confession. Now it stood as a symbol of their bond, a bond stronger than differences, stronger than doubts. As days turned into months, they continued to meet in the courtyard, not because they had to, but because it had become part of their lives. They explored other parts of the colony, shared quiet meals, and watched new storms from safe spaces, remembering the first ones that had brought them together. Nira's people gradually came to see what Aaron had seen all along: humanity's strength was not recklessness, but courage, love, and the ability to feel deeply. And for Aaron, Nira became proof that connection could cross worlds, that hearts could meet even when minds differed. One afternoon, standing side by side at the fountain, hand in hand, they looked out over the courtyard. Nira smiled softly, feeling the calm of the world and the quiet certainty of love. "This is our place," she said. "Yes," Aaron agreed. "Our place, our story, our future." They walked slowly along the stone paths, their steps in sync, hearts in sync. The courtyard no longer belonged to storms alone, it belonged to them, to their courage, their love, and the beginning of everything yet to come. And as the sun set, casting warm colors across the wet stones, they knew the truth they had discovered together, that love, trust, and humanity's courage could create a world where differences did not divide, but brought hearts closer. The rain might return, and storms might come again. But Aaron and Nira had learned that together, they could face anything. And in that courtyard, under every sun and every cloud, they would always have each other.